Thanks. Interesting.
Yeah, great question on the.
Well, I mean, we've all
colors.
known that. I mean, and it's hard. I think it's something that if you're in your mid 40s or you're late 30s or older, most people are like, well, you're just playing in the NFL. It's really cool. This is where you want to be. But I mean, there clearly is a generational gap on this thing, especially when it comes to college football over professional football. But these guys want to play for uniforms, and they want to play for a team that's going to look good and be out there. There was a All-American women's basketball player that I covered out in Montana. I mean, she was probably one of the best basketball players I've ever covered. Her name was Shannon Kate. And I used to say to her before the games, she would put on like full makeup like she was going out on a Friday night. And I'm like, why would you do that if you're going to go out there and sweat? She just said, if I don't look good, I don't feel good, and I don't play good. I always thought that was really interesting. And I mean, where this is coming from an All-American. So I think there's a point to be made there to, it's almost like going to a job interview. If you're going to go in tennis shoes and jeans like we're dressed today, you're probably not going to get the job. But, if you put on your best suit and you make sure your teeth look good and everything else is good, there's a commercial out there with that. But if you do all those things, I think you're going to have more confidence when you go not only into the job interview, but when you go into a game as well.
I agree with you 100%. I always feel confident when I have my full set of teeth in. First thing I do in the morning is I put those teeth in, I go to work, and I know that I'm going to have a good day at Channel 5 because I have the full set of teeth in.
I just want to make sure my hair is on straight this morning, and everything else is good as well.
Oh, this show has become a cosmetic guru genius
Speaking
show.
of having their hair on straight, let's check in with former Brown Bill Duff, who's hanging out. Are you in Twinsburg this morning? You at your house? You at Powerhouse? What are you doing this morning, Bill?
I'm just getting ready to go over to the gym, but I was checking my hair, too, just to make sure it looks real good for this.
That was nice. A little extra polish this morning? Or
a little polish, yeah, a little shoe shine.
All right, an off day yesterday, I think, for Browns fans, and I think we're all kind of sitting around figuring out what we're going to need to do. I know you like to hang out at the big mega places to go buy food because I saw you there on Saturday. But if you're the Browns right now and you've got your starting quarterback who is coming back with not as much confidence as he may have had in the beginning of the season, well, if you're Brandon Weeden and you're blocking for him, what do you need to make sure that he's at his best to move forward?
If you're an offensive lineman for Brandon Weeden, hold on as long as you can, in my opinion. He holds the ball a lot longer than Hoyer. I think we all know that. So they're going to have their work cut out for him coming up on Sunday because Detroit's got a pretty good pass rush.
Yeah, that front four of Detroit, Brandon Weeden, obviously this will be the third time I think that he's played against Detroit there. He went there last year, had him in the preseason. Obviously, you have the, whatever that thing they're playing for, the Barge. Or
the Barge.
Yeah, the Barge Trophy. How much does that help him, Bill, the fact that he's acquainted with Detroit and he knows what to get up front and what Detroit has up front this week?
I don't know if it helps a lot because they're good. They're going to come after him. They're going to get him. I know the coaches are going to be on him. They're going to tell him he can't hold the ball as long as he's been doing. If he does that, he's going to get murdered. Everyone knows it. I don't care if you're a Browns fan or not. Weeden's got to. The key to the game is him getting rid of the ball quick.
How about him just winning back his teammates? I mean, I know it's a pro game. I know that you guys all, when you show up for work, it's work. And it shouldn't matter who the quarterback is or who anybody else is on the field. You need to do your job. But as the leader out there, that guy who's got to move the team down the field, how much of a difference does it make when you've got a guy that you just played for that won 2 games and was really kind of inspirational in Brian Hoyer, and now you go back to Brandon Weeden and there are question marks floating around?
No, there's no doubt. I mean, he's got a lot of work to do. But when he did come in on Thursday, he did a good job. He didn't throw any interceptions. He handled the ball pretty well. He got booed, and I thought it was ridiculous when he first came out there. You got to give the guy a shot. He's our quarterback at this point. So I think that's probably the way the other pros are going to see it. You got to remember, every backup in the Professional Football League was an All-American in college. This kid can play football. He just has to go out there and have the confidence to win.
I kind of sense that his teammates were were behind him 100%. I mean, talking to the guys in the locker room afterwards, all these guys were happy for Brandon. They were happy for the way that he played. And I think, obviously you never want to see a teammate get injured, and especially one that's playing as well as the quarterback was in Hoyer. But they were excited that the kid came back and got a chance because he was the starting quarterback on the way out. But once you reestablish that connection again, and he's got weapons back now, Bill. Josh Gordon, he didn't have when he started the season. Now he does. But Now this week, going into this game, it's all about kind of reconnecting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Gordon looked great. He's a huge weapon, and it's going to open Little up a lot. I don't think they can't forget about Cameron, though, just because Jordan is back. I think he'll be a key to beating Detroit. Anytime you got a good D line that gets a great pass rush, dinking them over the middle to a tight end or a back is a great idea. That's just kind of football 101. But, Whedon's biggest test is going to be after that first hit. When he gets mauled for the first time, how's he going to react?
Well, how about two other things for you? Are you surprised at the AFC North right now? You've got 3 teams tied at 3-2, and the Steelers don't have a win yet, and they had yesterday off.
I'm shocked. I mean, as a football player, as a football fan, and, you just look at the way Cincinnati handled New England and the poor play that the Steelers are going through right now. It's almost like bizarro world in the AFC North. But I'll take it because the Browns are 3-2, and we all know we don't like the Steelers.
All right, last question for you. And just as a guy that knows Peyton Manning as well as you did, especially in college, how about that game yesterday between Denver and Dallas? What a shootout that tied the 4th highest scoring record for points on the board in any NFL game. That was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you never take credit away from Peyton Manning as far as, he's done, he's not going to win this football game. He's so competitive, it's unbelievable. I think that type of game is what you're going to see in the NFL in the future, especially with the spread option and all that stuff coming. And it's good for football. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Bill, thank you very much. Powerhouse Gym out in Twinsburg if you want to get pumped up this morning, right?
Yeah, boxing class starts at 9:30. Come check it out.
We can make it.
Right.
I'm not messing with you kidding? Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. We'll see you out there.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great guy. I did a bunch of movies as well. So
Yep.
Bill played for the Browns back in their return back in 1999. Really just a super guy. Lives here in Northeast Ohio, raising a family out here. And I think that's something that we all love as guys from Northeast Ohio, to hear that professional athletes want to stick around and they're still here. And it's amazing that it's the Browns that seem to stick around more than any other team.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you get a lot of guys and they reconnect with the community. You see them at football games. You see them all around the community making appearances. So it's nice. And obviously for Browns fans in such a big sports town like Cleveland.
The beauty of not having a game yesterday is it gives us the freedom to do some things that we normally don't do. Like, let's see if I can do this. I can't do it. Well, let me do it. I was going to give you a traffic update, but now I can't do it. I thought I was going to be able to give you Studio 21, which was never mind. All right, I'll keep talking to myself as we go to Kenny Roda. Hi, Kenny. How are you this morning?
Just peachy keen this morning, guys. How are you guys?
We're good. You got your Buckeye gear going on. We had a great show on Saturday night. You are a Buckeye, aren't you?
I'm a Buckeye nut this morning.
You are a Buckeye nut. I think I had some of those for breakfast this morning. Buckeye nuts, toasted onion.
They're dangerous to eat. I don't know if you know that, Andy. They're very deadly if you eat Buckeyes.
There is
I did know that.
There's a joke about the run.
There's a big joke out there, but
we'll let it go.
Let it go.
All right, let's talk about the Browns. If you're the Browns today, you're Michael Lombardi, you're walking in your office, you, Joe Banner, are sitting down, and you're determining the fate for your coaches out there. I know it's a group effort that figures these things out, but let's be realistic. Let's be very realistic. Joe Banner's looking for a quarterback this morning. What kind of quarterback does Joe Banner want?
That's a great question. We know that Josh Freeman is now off the list as he's going to the Minnesota Vikings. I guess there was no real interest in Josh Freeman in Cleveland. I put together a list, guys, and I don't know how much you've talked about it so far this morning, but Andy, you and I talked about it a little bit the other night after the Buckeye game. Here's the list that I've come up with of guys that are free agents that they could be looking at. Tim Tebow, David Carr, Jimmy Clausen, Matt Leinart, Troy Smith, who's up in Canada with the Montreal Alouettes, Tyler Thigpen, Pat White, Vince Young, Jamarcus Russell, although he's still rehabbing a knee and probably some other things, and Dennis Dixon. That's my list if I'm a general manager that I'm looking at this morning. Any of those guys excite you on that list?
Well, it's funny because both Pat White and Dennis Dixon just worked out for the Buffalo Bills. So one of those guys is probably going to be kept there. And both of them, ironically, running, throwing quarterbacks, very mobile type of guys. My list, you knocked down a couple of guys from my list as well. I had the same. Add B.J. Coleman to that list. I did.
Who the heck is B.J. Coleman? I don't even know who that is.
Tennessee, Chattanooga. He was a 7th-round draft choice of the Packers. And the Packers obviously saw something
Are
in
you
him.
his agent? Are you a close personal friend of his?
No,
I mean,
it was some
BJ
internet
Coleman,
work that I did
really?
before the show. Yeah, how about that? A little pre-show work that Andy and I did.
Wow.
Wait a second.
Very
You
rare,
did
huh?
internet work.
I did.
What is internet work supposed to
I
be?
got on the internet. I went through free agent available quarterbacks, and I read through what certain people said about some of the guys available. And B.J. Coleman was one of the guys that at least one of these scouts was pretty high on as far as a guy that you could bring in.
Was it Kelly Holcomb who played at that school? Or where did Kelly Holcomb play? Is that how maybe the Browns have a connect? He played wasn't it Tennessee Chattanooga?
That's a good question. I'd
I
have to
gotta
look it up on the internet.
Hang on a second. Where's
Go back to the internet and see what you can find there.
Hang on, Eric, the referee, get on that, will you please?
He's already
Eric,
on it.
you're like halfway in the
That's why he's out of
shot.
screen.
We're trying to get.
Hey, Kenny, when we talk about quarterbacks, Brandon Weeden, obviously, he's getting ready for the Lions. And in that preseason game against the Lions, and I know it's preseason, I even hate to finish this question, but it is valid and a little bit valid. He played against the Lions' first-team defense, and they looked outstanding in that quarter plus or whatever. He threw 2 touchdowns. Josh Gordon had like 70 or 80 yards receiving. Right. He's faced the Lions now 3 times over the last 2 years. How much is that going to help him as he gets ready again for what I think is one of the best fronts in the National Football League?
You hope there's some familiarity having played them, whether it's preseason or regular season. But in the that stupid trophy they play for, that's ridiculous that there's a trophy for a preseason game. Only OIC on that one. But you hope
OID too.
Having gone up against that pass rush, he'll know that he's going to have to release the ball quicker because of that pass rush with Fairley and with Ndamukong Suh and what they've put together on the defensive side of the ball. And watching Brian Hoyer, I think maybe this is the biggest thing. If there was one thing that he learned while being on the sidelines while he was injured and then he didn't get his job back, Brian Hoyer started the other night, is how quickly Brian Hoyer gets rid of the football. On the telecast the other night, they showed us the time difference between Hoyer, who was either number 1 or in the top 3 in the NFL of quickest releases, versus Brandon Weeden, who's dead last as far as release time in that. Hopefully that's one thing that he will remember from taking some hits from that defensive front with the Detroit Lions and watching Brian Hoyers get rid of the football, live to play another down, throw it away, don't take the sack, don't turn the football over. Hopefully that'll be something that has carried over from playing the Lions and watching Hoyer.
Kenny, I couldn't remember what direction it was for Kelly Holcomb. It's actually middle Tennessee State.
Okay,
so,
I knew he was
at a directional school.
Somewhere in Tennessee he played.
I just couldn't remember which direction it was. Sometimes I just get lost doing that.
GPS it. You'll be better off that way.
Let's go back to that list of quarterbacks you had, and I'm just trying to think as you went through them, who has ties to Michael Lombardi? I think that was something we discussed the other day. Other than Jamarcus Russell was the one that, although he didn't really have ties to him because he wasn't actually the guy that drafted him, especially if you ask him that. But I'm trying to think of who else on that list has a tie.
In like the 6 degrees of separation, there. Who's the actor that the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Yeah.
That's the game you play.
Mm-hmm.
The 6 degrees of Bill Belichick, right? So it would be Tim Tebow, wouldn't he be at the top of the list since Lombardi is Belichick's buddy and they work together and everything that Belichick thinks is good, Lombardi thinks is good, and
right.
Belichick had Tebow in even though he cut him. So wouldn't Tebow be at the top of that list?
If they were looking for another tight end, I think that'd be great.
Looking for an H-back?
I can't understand why Tim Tebow wouldn't want to play tight end. I understand he wants to be a quarterback, but, if you really wanted to be back in the league and you really wanted to play, why not be a tight end? I don't get it.
Some guys
he's got
are
something
stubborn
to offer.
that way for whatever reason. I would want to play in the NFL any way I could,
right.
And if that meant making a position change, look at guys that have done that. Josh Cribbs, a quarterback in college, and look at the career he had in the NFL. Hines Ward was the quarterback at Georgia, ended up playing wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and probably will go into the Hall of Fame. So yeah, it's you scratch your head and you go, why won't Tim Tebow swallow his pride? And he could be a decent tight end, I think, in this league, having played quarterback, understanding how the routes should be run, and physically he's capable of it, I think, from what do you look at the tight ends, their size, their weight, and everything like that. But maybe he's going to play quarterback or not play in the NFL at all. Maybe that's the way he believes of himself. And I heard Urban Meyer say not too long ago he can't believe that there's not a spot for Tim Tebow in the NFL as a quarterback as well. So there are more than just there's more than just Tim Tebow who think that.
The quarterbacks that they would be looking at, Kenny, to bring in, you've got to think about the mindset of Michael Lombardi. Are they bringing in a quarterback who's a snap away from starting, which means they jump Jason Campbell, or are they bringing in a quarterback as just a third body just in case Campbell goes in, they don't like what they see, and then they may have to replace him with the guy that they bring in?
I think it's the third string guy at this point in time. We've read that list. Nobody really excites any of us on that list except your guy, Mr. Campbell, that you're all excited about. So I think it's the third guy on the roster to run the scout team. If Campbell has to go in, you put Campbell in, you see how he does, and if he falls flat on his face like he did earlier this year when Hoyer went down and he was like 1 for 5 or 1 for 6 in relief duty, then maybe that third string guy comes in, but he would be more of that run the opposing team's offense in practice, get up to speed on what the Browns offense is, studying film in the playbook, and hope that you don't have to go to him.
Kenny, would you trade for a Ryan Mallett? Would you trade one of these back-end picks for another guy? I can't see it. I just can't see trading a pick for the future when they're going to bring in a guy.
The only way I trade, Andy, is if I'm going to trade for a starter. I'm not trading for a backup unless I can get somebody for a compensatory 7th-round pick that I think might be able to help us as a backup. Derek Anderson, I put him down at the very bottom of the list on my sheet here as far as trade possibilities because he's in Carolina now backing up Cam Newton. And, of course, we remember what happened in 2007. He had a great year, 29 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, threw for almost 4,000 yards with Chud as his offensive coordinator. If they're interested in a guy that's familiar with Chud's offense and you can give up a compensatory or a late 7th-round pick, then maybe. But other than that, I'm not trading for somebody unless I'm going to make them my starting quarterback.
All right, last question for you, too, and this is off subject. I want to talk a little Ohio State with you a second. 11 Warriors. Do you read 11 Warriors at all?
Yes, I do.
Those guys do a great job.
Fabulous.
There was a story this morning. Did you see the Tressel story?
I did not see the Tressel story yet.
There's a thing floating around on 11 Warriors this morning saying that they believe that Jim Tressel will be back next year as a BCS coach somewhere, that some school is going to take a chance on him, even with the show cause, and the NCAA is going to back off and don't worry about the show cause and let him go back and coach. Your thoughts on that?
It wouldn't surprise me, but also I've heard the rumors that he could be in the running to be the president at Akron. So What does he really want to do? Does he want to be in charge of an entire university and expand, I guess, his resume? Or does he want to go back to what he does very, very well, and that's coaching and winning national championships? Did so at Youngstown State, did so at Ohio State. And it'll be interesting to see if he does, how the NCAA rules on Jim Tressel and which school he would go to. We know there are going to be job openings just around the country every year with the schools that are expected to do well. They don't do well. Look at USC. How ironic would that be? If Jim Tressel maybe would end up at USC, Ohio State, USC, and the Rose Bowl, all those years, the history and everything like that. So it would not shock me. But I think the Akron presidency thing also has some legs to it as well.
I do, too. All right, Kenny, we'll check back in with you in a little bit, but good stuff on Saturday night as well, and we'll make sure we head over to KennyRoda.com today, too.
Impressed with the Campbell information. Way to do your research, guys.
That was good stuff. All right, we'll see you, B.J. Coleman. That'll be your next quarterback. Don't forget about it.
Campbell, whoever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, Coleman and Campbell, it's all soup.
They're all, super camping equipment. Thanks, Kenny. Good stuff.